So hello guys, we are looking about the poultry, especially the chickens and their life, their sense of taste, smell, and the vision. Okay, so here there's an article which I would like to read out. Responses of poultry to ultraviolet radiations. So, for your kind information, as we humans can visualize about 400 to 700 nanometers wavelength, and that's the visible light. So, chickens can visualize about less than 400 nanometer, that is the UV radiations. So poultry, unlike humans, have a false retinal cone that allows to them to see in the UVA part of ultraviolet radiation. These ocular function is principally used by the poultry to modify various behavioral functions as a feeding, peer recognition, mate selection, mating activity, and the social encounters. Retinally perceived UVA controls the release of melatonin in the pineal gland of dark adapted birds. Ultraviolet radiation has a shorter wavelength than visible light, and as a result, it is unable to penetrate to the hypothalamus to induce a photosexual response. UV is thus minimally involved in avian reproductive function. UVA, UVB has anti-ragidic properties which catalyze the synthesis of vitamin D3 from 7-dehydroxycholesterol in the skin of feet and legs, and normally that prevents rickets, minimizes the incidence of TB, dyschondroplasia, and normalizes growth and bone age. In young birds, fed diet deficient in vitamin D3. Surprisingly, there is a sufficient UVA in white fluorescent light to produce these benefits. UVC from the sun is filtered out by the atmosphere's ozone layer, so has been shown to protect the domestic fowls from aerogenic viral infections. However, vaccination has made this property superfluous to the modern poultry industry. Recently, the introduction of light that emits both visible light and UV has made the provision of UVA to poultry practical propositions, and so it is urgent that the response of poultry to UV radiation is revived. So your keywords are ultraviolet, avian vision, growth, sleep disorder, egg production, and vitamin D. So here we have about learning about the introduction part. Then you have the UV and animal physiology, avian and extraretinal photoreceptions, and here they have given in the figure about the spectral sensitivity of domestic fowls, bowl data, preschool and Vadis. Okay, so here retinal receptions, the behavioral responses, the growth responses, the reproductive responses, varying light to weeks. So here we have been given about the rearing lights, so mean age at sexual maturity, salivary response, the pathological response, the acknowledgement is been given of who is there about to understand, like which teachers been considerable for in doing these things. Okay, so I'll tell you in short about all these things. So, conclusion is that various studies of responses of wildlife birds to UVA exposure, for example, circadian activities and mating selections, the main function for radial UVA sensitivity were orientation, foraging, and sexual selections. Identification of UV vision is in more than 30 avian species, also led Bennett and Cuttle to suggest that the ability to see in UV was probably a general property of all birds. The increased mating activity, the facilitation of mate selections from the recognition of UVA, reflective markings of the plumage and the fleshy appendages, and enhancement of fertility in broiler critters, the repressive effect of supplemental. And here we have the potential involvement in the reduction of injuries packing in male turkeys, conferred the involvement of retinally pursued UVA in behavioral activity, the lack of influence in sexual maturation, egg production in laying eggs and broiler breeders, and the failure to phase-shift of diving of the ovulatory cycle in laying hens shows the UV is not involved in the hypothalamic control of reproduction, especially because of the poor penetration of intercutting of tissues by short-wave radiation, the ability of UVA and UVB to synthesize vitamin D3 from 7-dehydroxycholesterol in the skin, especially of the legs and the feet, the beneficial effects of such function on the growth, the incidences of TDP and rickets, and the maintenance of normal bonage in breastfed cholecalciferol deficient diets make this an important property of UV, especially in areas of the world where poultry are eliminated with natural light and the nutritional quality of poultry diet cannot be guaranteed, it is unlikely to be of relevance to develop poultry industries even when the elimination is provided by the Kim Candace's lab because diets usually have adequate level of vitamin D3. Improved reproductive performance of domestic fowls and turkeys exposed to UVC radiation observed in some of the early research are not likely to have indirect effects of the UV and the activity of the reproductive system because avian retinal photoreceptors are not sensitive to UVC and in an intracranial penetration of UVC to the hypothalamus is inconceivable. More likely, these were consequences of some germicidal action by UVC. The ability of UVC to protect poultry against an airborne viral infections, whilst interesting, is somewhat impractical and dangerous, and protection against most viral poultry diseases can be provided by the vaccinations. So, in short, the pathological response. So here they have been said about though constant exposure to UV radiations from black light, black blue lamps, fly traps had no effect on the eye pathology. However, if you have been continual response or exposure to UV radiations, then you will have diseases which are not avoiding any of the conjunctivitis. And here it's been told about that incandescent light can be used, okay, and overexposure to UVC radiations can cause the corneal damages. Here we were talking about the sanitary responses, guys. So sanitary responses is being told about here, and they have been telling that feet and legs of the chicken contain 8 times as much 7-dehydroxycholesterol as body skin, okay? Also, it was not surprising that the UVB radiation of caged broilers from below was twice as effective as provided from above. The provisions of supplemental UVC was completely protected. Okay, because you have now what the ultimate use of the UVC light and all. So guys, growth response has been there and it has been resolved. So I'll be telling about insurance things, okay?